crises of identity for individuals are no less serious. And they have a very particular form. In our age, seem to be crises about continuity. Am I the same person as I was? In a culture where the average person is likely not to have a job for life, where increasingly, sadly, the average person is not likely even to have a set of stable relationships for life, is there something that holds together the various coming and going experiences that enter into the mind and the psyche? Fractured careers and fractured relationships seem to be the order of the day. Is there one story to be told, after all, about who I am and about who we are? And just as with intelligence, so with memory, we can find strategies of denial, both for church and society, and indeed individual. We can construct satisfying stories. We can recreate an imagined past. We can take refuge not in tradition, which is a good thing, but in an artificial traditionalism, which isn't. We can make up continuities, pretend they're there when they're not. A dark night of memory. But what would St. John of the Cross say to that? Hope, when it comes to birth, is not just a confidence that there is a future for us. It's also a confidence that there's a continuity, so that the future is related to the same truth, the same living reality as the past and the present. Hope is again hope in relation. Relation to that which does not go away and abandon. Relation to a reality which knows and sees and holds who we are. You have an identity because you have a witness of who you are. What you don't understand or see, the bits of yourself you can't pull together in a convincing story, are all held in a single gaze of love. You don't have to work out and finalize who you are and who you have been. You don't have to settle the absolute truth of your history, your story. Because in the eyes of the presence which does not go away, all that you have been and are is still present and real, held together in that unifying gaze, as if you were to see a pile of apparently disparate, disconnected bits, suddenly revealed as being held together by a string, twitched by the divine observer, the divine witness. That's very abstract, but it's put much more vividly and personally in an extraordinary poem written by Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the great German theologian and martyr. A poem he wrote when he was in prison for his share in the plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. Bonhoeffer writes that they tell me I step out into the prison yard like a squire going to walk around his estate. Bonhoeffer was a man of rather aristocratic background and bearing. And the poem is about the great gulf between what they see, a confident, adult, rational, prayerful, faithful, courageous person, and what he knows is going on inside. The weakness and the loss, the inner whimpering and dread. So which is me? Bonhoeffer asks. The person that they see, the person that I know when I'm on my own with myself? And his answer is surprising and blunt. I haven't got a clue. God has got to settle that. I don't have to decide if I'm really brave or really cowardly, whether I'm really confident or really frightened, or both. Who I am is in the hands of God. And that, I would say, is the hope that St. John of the Cross might be talking about. It goes beyond the assumption that I am only what I see or know. It tells me that I'm more than I realize in the eyes of God, for good or ill. It tells me to hope in what is unseen, in a good biblical phrase, and to hope, in another good biblical phrase, in the one who doesn't need to be told about how human beings work, because he knows the human heart. St. John's Gospel. Hope, then, not simply confidence in the future, but confidence that past, present, and future are held in one relationship, so that the confusions about memory, who were we, who was I, who am I, and who are we, become bearable because of the witness in heaven, the witness who does not abandon. And that suggests a church marked by profound patience. Patience with actual human beings in their confusions and uncertainties. Patience in an environment where so much seems to be unclear and in danger of getting lost. Patience in the sense that we realize it takes time for each one of us to grow up into Christ. And if it takes time for each one of us to grow up into Christ, so it takes time for the body, the community overall, to grow. Hope and patience belong together. I would say that only a church which is learning patience can proclaim hope effectively. And then what about what we want? What about the will? We talk a great deal about choice in our culture. And sadly, what we often mean is not a great deal more than what some would call the supermarket shelf choice. There's a lot of things, and I'm free to have whichever I like. And that treats our will, our choosing, as a series of, once again, disconnected, fractured acts of choosing, expressions of the surface of what I want.